Today's show is brought to you by the Dance Studio of Tupelo, and Sprint Print, and Spring Tupelo, and Scarlett's Donuts.
This week, we are taking a look at the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine and checking in on some young learners who have never experienced school under normal conditions.
Officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
Welcome back to this week's edition of WTHS News. I'm Mary Ellen Wolf. It is hard to believe that just a year ago, it was announced that we would not be returning back to school from spring break. Things look very different around here than they did a year ago today, and Sarah has more on how everyone involved in the school community has been affected by the global pandemic.
1 year ago, our world fell into a global pandemic.
Officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
Tupelo High School was just one out of the many schools that shut down in order to keep everyone safe. Students, teachers, and parents had to adjust every aspect of their life in order to prevent the spread of the infamous coronavirus. Sophomore Alexis Leasy has found some of the changes helpful, while others have been more difficult.
As a person, I think COVID affected my friendships with people and my mental health a lot. I got quarantined 4 times, and when I had to do online school, it was harder for me because I'm a person that learns in the classroom better than outside of it.
Jackie Deaton, this year's THS Parent of the Year, was worried to hear that many routine things in life were changing.
I was confused as to what was going to happen, how was the rest of the school year going to play out. The fact that everything seemed up in the air was very unsettling.
While many changes have been hard, Ms. Deaton says her daughter, a junior at THS, works well with traditional learning, but has adapted to the at-home environment.
My daughter prefers in-person. She's doing in-person learning as opposed to virtual. She prefers that. Although the virtual learning is nice for this, is when we had the snow week or the when there's bad weather. So that's been helpful.
Senior English teacher Sarah Rennick was just as shocked and heartbroken to hear that her seniors would not get a normal last year.
Well, when I first found out that we were not going to return, I was really sad and upset for the seniors that I teach, because I know these last few weeks, this last, semesters, when it gets real, nearing graduation, they're all really excited about that. As far as prom and graduation and everything, how would that be affected?
The Tupelo Public Schools' main mission is to continue the strong community they formed during the pandemic, as well as making sure no student is left behind. Superintendent Dr. Robert Piku says the hard work from the staff and students have allowed the schools to continue safely even when it seemed impossible.
The biggest question anyone asked was, how long do you think we're going to be able to keep schools open? Now we are entering into the fourth 9 weeks, and I think it's been a tremendous success. And that's because of the hard work of our staff, our principals, our teachers, our school nurses, and the willingness of our student body and to participate in a way that kept things safe.
He also gives a special thanks to the Tupelo High School student body for all their hard work during these unique times.
I'd just like to thank everyone at the Tupelo High School, the student body and the staff, because you guys, school hasn't been the same, right? But I really believe we're going to grow through it, and we're going to learn from it, and we're going to emerge much stronger.
Thanks, Sarah. Sports teams, social clubs, and many other groups on campus have been largely affected by COVID-19. Alissa discusses the impact that coronavirus has had on the mental health of teens.
Today marks nearly a year that we first found out we would no longer be going back to school. From a happy week added to our spring break to a long, dreadful 2 months doing virtual classes, We now look back to see how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected mental health across the nation and within our community. Based on statistics from a KFF health tracking poll from July of 2020, several adults suffered from many negative side effects of mental health. From difficulty sleeping and eating to an increase of alcohol and substance use, people have continued to struggle up until today. Data in 2020 showed that drug overdose deaths were more pronounced from March to May, which coincides with the start of the pandemic. A survey statistic by the U.S. Census Bureau reported an increase of more than 31% reporting symptoms of anxiety or depression. From January to June of 2019, reporting only 11%, brought up to 42% by December of 2020. Clinical psychologist Luana Marquez, who has been monitoring the mental health impacts of the pandemic, does not believe mental stress will be going back to baseline anytime soon. Counselor Tyler Philly gives his insight on what he believes will be the reality for students who have had a bad experience with the pandemic.
I don't think it will affect them for life. And the reason that is, like all things, this will pass. Or if it doesn't pass, it will become one of those things that we just have adjusted to.
Mr. Philly knows that the progression of time will definitely have an impact on how things go in the future.
Now, I think, with the vaccine going out and everything like that, we'll start to have more and more interaction with people. I feel that the lack of interaction has caused a lot of the isolation and things like that. And once, things open back up and the vaccine is distributed to most people and all that, I think that'll go away. So,
digging deeper, we asked Mr. Philly what his intake was on students with a negative mentality and how to deal with that.
Well, first of all, with a bad state of mind, I'm assuming you're asking feeling isolated from not being able to do the things you used to do and things like that. I would encourage a student to focus on the good things that are going on around, to basically find things that give them fulfillment, whether it be a hobby, going out for a walk, starting an exercise routine. I've found that one of the things that I've dealt with students is this whole thing has gotten them out of a routine.
While sharing what to do in the case of being out of the norm, he gives students and staff ways to put themselves back on track.
So I encourage them, to get in a routine, go to bed at the same time every night, get up at the same time every day. And if you're not going places or don't have anywhere to be, then if you don't already have a hobby, start a hobby. And that gives you a sense of fulfillment, to kind of, for a short time replace that interaction with others.
If you continue to struggle with your mental health, know that someone, whether it be a counselor, teacher, or another student, will be there to talk to you. Soon, even Tupelo High's therapy dog Waverly will be there to help you too. Still in training, she is working hard to make sure she can be the best of help to anybody in need. This is Alissa Hawes, WTHS News.
Thanks, Alyssa. Although the mental health of many people has suffered due to the coronavirus, the newly released vaccine is serving as a light at the end of the tunnel. Soon after the pandemic started, chemists began to work on a vaccine. According to the New York Times, about 2 million Americans are vaccinated every day, and of the 60 million total, about 1 million Mississippians are vaccinated. Ms. Hendricks says that she always planned on getting the vaccine, but what pushed her even more was an article that compared it to the polio vaccine her father once received.
We as Americans should be excited and celebrate the COVID vaccine, that it should be as exciting as completing the polio vaccine. My dad was a survivor of polio, and it kind of just hit home for me that this was something that we all needed to participate in.
Mr. Catledge is an administrator who did not initially plan on getting the vaccine until he watched his parents get sick with the virus.
I just actually thought I'm pretty safe. I've been well throughout this entire time, so I thought I could just not get it. But actually just decided to because my mom had the virus. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brothers, they all had the virus. So I thought it best that I got that vaccine so that I won't have to go through what they did.
The progress being made in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine is providing hope to everyone involved in the Tupelo Public School District that maybe someday soon we will be able to return to normal. However, for the preschoolers attending ECEC, going to school during a global pandemic is all they know. Ari and Sarah visited these young learners to see how they are learning during these unprecedented times.
Hey, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs down.
While these children don't know it yet, they are living history. They are the first class to only know school during COVID-19. And while some may be facing setbacks, these hardworking preschoolers will not let it slow them down. ECEC teachers have put in new precautions to keep their students safe while still maintaining a normal class environment.
It's a lot different than it was last year. We have to think about how our centers are, what's in our centers, how effectively we can clean what's in our centers, tracking who the kids' partners are and where they sit, different things like that.
Things may look different from an outside perspective, but to the kids, this is all they know.
They think this is normal school, so they haven't experienced it before, so coming into school already with a mask on and the things that we do, they'll think this is the normal way of school. This is the way school has always been.
Principal Haley Stewart's fourth year at ECEC has looked different than the years past.
I think that we, have had to change some of the ways that we've looked at things. We had to change a few things in the classroom, just the setup. As we have grown throughout the year, we've been able to shift some of the ways.
As ECEC is heavily parent involved, they have had to come up with new ways to include them without breaking any COVID guidelines.
We just had to find creative ways to still make the parents involved in their education because we know how important that is.
And the bus driver says, bye!
In the years to come, the preschool classroom will adopt ideas brought from COVID. While they may be struggling now, in the future, these techniques will open new doors.
Even hopefully after COVID disappears or, our numbers continue to go down, that we'll continue these same efforts because what we are seeing are positive changes.
Kelly Hutchison, a local kindergarten teacher, is certain that these kids will not fall behind because of the support from their school district.
We always have such an educationally diverse group of students that come to kindergarten each year. TPSD, administrators, teachers, curriculum departments, and really everyone across the district worked hard over the summer to receive students in the fall. Research shows that reading to young learners builds foundational skills in language and social and emotional development. Students should also be able to spell and write their first name and count objects up to a group of 10.
I'm Ari Giorgenti.
WTHS News. Thanks, Ari. Hopefully these students will get to enjoy a more normal school experience in the coming years. That's all we have for this week. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching this week's edition of WTHS News and have a great weekend.